Hey, everybody, from a very wet and rainy San Diego. It is February 1st. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're watching the replay, awesome. If you're here live, awesome. We're going to have a ton of value for you if you want to start a community in your business, whether it's a free community to use as a lead magnet or a lead gen for your business, or perhaps it's because you want to generate some recurring revenue in your business. Either way, we have a lot to talk about. Say hello in the chat if you are here live, and I'll say hello back to some of you as we go along. But we're going to be launching an online community together today, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I need to tell you a story because this really all starts with an event that happened in 2019. This was called FlynnCon. I invited 500 entrepreneurs to San Diego, and it was my first time bringing people together from the community. And it was really fun because people got to chat and see these amazing presentations. But the funniest thing was in the surveys that we ran afterwards, the number one thing that people loved the most was the conversations with the people in the foyer. I mean, it was like we didn't even need to do any of the stage work, right? It was all the stuff that was happening in between the sessions, all the stuff in the hallways, the connections, the partnerships that were happening, the feedback people were offering to each other, which was amazing, right? So we had this brilliant idea in SPI to do that again, right? So we had FlynnCon scheduled for 2020. And of course, we all know what happened in 2020, so we weren't able to do that anymore. And then we rescheduled for 2021. And what we really saw was interesting was that during the pandemic, there was this huge craving to just get together. So much so that people were finding ways to get together online in interesting and new ways. For example, with tools like Clubhouse and Circle, which was really neat to see, right? It just showed you that we as humans, even though we were all in our own little separate pods at home, we still wanted to connect in some way, shape, or form. And social media was just not doing that for us, right? So to create these containers and spaces for us to gather was really amazing. And Clubhouse took off. It isn't really much of a thing anymore, but what had become a thing is Circle, which is where we now house our community because we couldn't wait for the pandemic to be over to start an event and bring the community together. We had to do it now. And we're so grateful for that. You know, it was actually a blessing in disguise that FlynnCon never happened again because we were able to gather more people from all around the world and have that same feeling that we had in those hallways and at our event, but online instead. And it was amazing because since then, we've changed our entire business model to be focused around and centered around community. You know, for the longest time, it was specifically just online courses, and we would offer these courses and they would help people succeed in all different kinds of ways, from email marketing, affiliate marketing, podcasting, YouTube courses. They worked, and they were some of the leading courses in this space. However, we knew that there was something different that we could do that maybe could enhance the success stories and the chance that a student would succeed. And in fact, we've been able to, since injecting community into our business, not just generate revenue, recurring revenue for the first time, but we've actually seen a 2x increase in student success. Let me say that again, a 2x increase as a result of injecting community into our business. So we've just centered everything around it at this point, and it's been really amazing. It has become our business model, and that's what we're going to teach you today, how to launch this kind of thing and what it might look like so that you can inject this into your business too. And we teach this stuff now. We have an online course, and this is inside of our community called the All Access Pass. The course is called the Community Business Blueprint. We've launched it a couple times. We've ran an accelerator. An accelerator is where we bring people together through that course all at the same time with access to coaches and office hours during that time. Again, this is how we've been able to increase the likelihood of success in it. And I'm excited to teach you a lot of this stuff. You're going to get an open window of some of the things we teach in there. And should you be interested in working more closely with us and getting some of that accelerator coaching, we have an offer for you at the end as well. But either way, you're going to get some value here. So before we start, let me see your favorite emoji in the chat to tell me that you're ready. Now, obviously, if you're watching the replay, you can't do that. But let me say hello to Heather in North Carolina. We also got Randy in the house, Nina, Nancy, Leslie, PrepperNet. We got Jonathan as well, Jacques from Oakland, California. That's close to where I went to school, actually, up in Berkeley, which was awesome. Calming Anxiety. So, Martin, thank you for your help. Sunday, I fly to Google, New York for your digital for good due to my podcast. So, Calming Anxiety, the person who left the super chat earlier, thank you for that, by the way, is a student of ours who has had a podcast with now millions of downloads, and his podcast is taking off. So, I'm super, super proud of you. Tina is here as well. Amazing. So, I see the emojis coming in. That means you are ready, and I'm excited to get started. And it starts with this. something that we're all familiar with, the sort of compendium of content creation tools that we have, not to mention social media goes along with this as well. But for the longest time, this is what a lot of us are used to as far as, well, what we do online. We have a blog, we have a podcast, we have a video channel, right, on YouTube. We create books, we create courses. And this is this is the DNA of what SPI has been for so long. And then after the pandemic, when we built SPI Pro, which was our first community, and now our All Access Pass community kind of surrounds all of this. It almost encompasses all of that. And it's amazing because it is becoming the center of our business. For a while, community almost seemed like an extension of it, right? Where it's like, okay, you have all these things, but let's bring the community together. We've actually flipped the model now, where community, bringing people together, and community, by the way, is not audience building. We're going to talk about those differences quite heavily here at the beginning. It's really important to understand that before we get into the tactics of how to launch. And we will be going over those strategies and tactics as well. So stick around. Yes, there will be a replay after this as well, right here on the same page. So it immediately fires up right after we're done with this. And we'll go for about an hour and 15 minutes. I'll make sure there's time for questions and answers at the end as well. But the community portion is amazing because what also happened is we've never had this kind of feedback from our community before. It wasn't just the fact that we were getting more access to these people to hear from them. It was the fact that they were getting value from each other, right? This was not surprising, but it was surprising how well it worked. How the students of ours are helping the other students, the students becoming the teachers, and almost kind of helping us do what our mission is here at SPI, which is to get you closer to within your goals. And then, of course, the Circle platform is what we use. I love that name because it just perfectly encompasses what we're doing. We're building a circle of people, a community, which has been great. And because of this, the community has grown, right? From the inside, like what I talk about in my book, Superfans. When you treat your people well who are already with you, not just trying to get more people in from the outside, but the people who are inside with you already. When you treat them well, when you give them results, they will bring more people in just organically, right? They become your sort of marketing team without you having to ask because you've provided value to them, right? And the recurring revenue in this situation comes as a result of people wanting to stick around, not just because of the content that you have inside your platform, wherever that platform might be, but because of the people. You'll hear me say this a few times today. People come for the content, but they stay for the community. And this becomes a win for everybody. And this is where we feel business is going. There's no coincidence that a puck is also round. What I mean by that is Wayne Gretzky's quote, which is, you go to where the puck is going, not where it is. Anyway, that's not a great analogy, but you know what I mean. All right, let's talk about audience building versus community building. There's a number of different facets of this that are important to understand as you are starting to think about how to inject a community into your business. Now, if you already have a community in your business, this is going to be a great reminder as well. So the objectives are different, right? The difference between an audience and a community, they are different things. Your audience are people who listen to you, watch you, read you, but they're not necessarily connected to each other, right? They may be connected in the comments section. They might hear from one another in the interwebs every once in a while, but they don't have direct line of contact with each other. That's where community comes into play. It's not just you talking to them and them talking to you. It's them talking to each other, right? So the objectives are different here, right? For audience building, people come to find the content, right? Often they are looking for answers. When it comes to community building, whether it's a free community or a paid community, people come to find connection. They want a sense of belonging. That's an innate trait of a human being, is to want to feel connected. And content alone is not going to get people connected, right? It's seeing other people like them there. People come for the content, but they stay for the community. Who said that? Lots of smart people. I'm just relaying that message. We're playing telephone, but hopefully I'm getting it right. The business models are different between audience and community building, okay? Audience-based models, business models, are going to be based on attention, keeping their attention, getting their attention, and then converting them from there, converting them into an email list, converting them into a course or a coaching program or a service or software, whatever it might be, right? So how do we get their attention? Search engine optimization, affiliate marketing, paid ads, sponsorships, right? Commerce. This favors fixed pricing, and there's nothing wrong with fixed pricing. We've had fixed pricing business model for years. But a community-based retention model, good day, Minchie, great to see you, is subscription-based membership. There might be different tiers of membership, right? It might involve coaching because that's more directly connected. Events where there are live and asynchronous events that happen together to allow for people to connect and feel like they're a part of something even more. And then, of course, masterminds, which we have mastermind making inside our pro community, which has been a very, very favorable part of that offer. This favors recurring revenue, of course. So the business models are different. Hey, April Woga, great to see you here, right? It's the difference between, first of all, just a great example, Nerd Fitness here. They teach fitness and nutrition, but I love them because they're also very targeted in who it is that they're serving, right? It's not just for everybody. It's specifically for the nerds out there, right? The nerds who are computer nerds. And of course, this relays into their content. They talk about Lego and all these other things. Pokemon even injects itself into its content. But they've built a community there because it's not just about, hey, here's a nutrition plan, or here is the best workout for you if you are kind of lanky because you haven't done this before, right? No, it's, hey, join our community and let's do this together. Let's do these challenges. Here's some coaches to help you. And Nerd Fitness has become this incredible phenomenon in the industry because not just it's so targeted, but because they bring their people together. The difference, or the sort of opposite of this, is the sort of video game approach to, this like Super Mario Brothers approach, right? Where it's one player, and even if it's two player, right? You take turns. You're not really even connected to each other. I'm a big video game nerd. I was born in 1982. I still remember the day my dad brought me a Nintendo, but that didn't really feel like community. Even if there were a bunch of people at my house for a sleepover, it was like, okay, we're there together, but the game itself, the content, is still a 1-2 game experience. Unlike other games that have come out since that literally focus on and highlight the community aspect of this, like World of Warcraft, where you are looking for a guild and you create parties and you go on, you raid the different enemies together, right? It becomes an experience enhanced on top of the game because of those people, right? The user experience for audience and community is different. For audience, it's kind of solo, right? They're kind of, when you create an experience for your brand and your people, they're just on this journey on their own. I'm on my own. I'm consuming a guide, and then it's up to me to sort of implement that and hopefully get some results. And maybe along the way, I might see or connect with a few people, but not really. I'm on my own. No, with a member point of view, you're feeling like you're a part of something, like you're being guided. You're going along the ride with people, right? And, the world favors those who actually get together to do something. That's why we have carpool lanes. Again, not a great example, but you know what I mean. When people are involved, they are invested. Communication is a little bit different, right? With consumer point of view, it's comments, it's a contact form, it's email. It's very, very solo again, and it's very, it's up to you. Versus a member point of view, it's based on replies and threads and direct messages with each other to find each other, right? Forums and group experiences. Conversations are the new comments. Let me say that again. Conversations are the new comments. And then ultimately, what we want for our people is transformation, to go from one stage in their life to another. And from a consumer point of view, again, very solo. It's you learn something new, you collect that info, and you move on, right? Or hopefully you might subscribe for the next time something comes out, right? And this is why selling things for one-off, like a one-off course, is very difficult. It can get expensive for a consumer over time, which it was for our audience. And it's very much like you got to stay in constant contact with them, which could either be overwhelming or hard to do because it's so noisy in a person's inbox or social streams, right? Versus a member point of view. You learn something new, right? You feel more connected because other people are learning with you. There's a sense of belonging. But along the way, during the learning, there's accountability. There's support, something that wasn't there when you're doing it on your own. There's confidence. There's a spirit. There's a connection, right? And there's memorable moments, not just your memorable moments, but getting stoked about somebody else's memorable moment too along the way. And in communities, when goals are hit, new goals are set. All right, let's talk about launching your community. We've talked about the differences between audience building and community building. Really important to understand because the whole purpose of this is to bring our people together. So we're going to talk about launching this thing, right? We're not going to get super defined on, well, what is exactly in your community? What are your what we like to call signature events that happen inside of those communities? How many space groups should you have? And all these kinds of things, right? We're going to talk about launching this thing so you can make this achievable. Because over time, you're going to find that your audience, your own community, is going to be defining what this actually becomes. So let's talk about this. Launching your community should not be like you're launching a rocket ship. That's sometimes how it feels like when we're launching anything. It's like this big grand thing. Like imagine launching a spaceship. All that it takes to do that, right? You have to get the right suit and all the, I mean, I don't even know. There's like a million checkpoints to make sure things don't fail, and it feels heavy. And we talk about launching things when really that is very complicated and super overwhelming. So instead of like launching a rocket ship, I want you to think about launching your community as if you are opening a restaurant. It's a little different and should be a little bit easier to think about and wrap your head around, right? Why a restaurant? Because when you are at a restaurant, think about the last time you were at a restaurant with a bunch of friends or family members. It's an experience. You are having a great time. It's actually not even about the place. Like, yes, you go to that place and yes, you might like the menu, but you go there because you're going to hang out with other people, because you're going to be having conversations, because it is a medium to those conversations, right? To those connections. What's up, Brandon? Great to see you. Thank you so much for being a gold member for 34 months. That is wild, man. And thank you for your tweet the other day. I saw it. It made me smile. And then you as the creator, right, in this quote-unquote restaurant, you serve, right? You've heard me talk about serve first all the time. You're serving your people. Here is an event that you can go to. Here is a piece of content that might serve you. Here's a plate. Enjoy, and then you walk away. You let those connections happen, right? What up, Polka Dog? So this is why I love the restaurant analogy, because restaurants also launch in a very sequential manner that we could talk about, that we can also use in our community business. So the pre-launch challenge, like why this is hard for us, is because an empty restaurant is not a good sign, right? Launching a restaurant, if you imagine, you're like, okay, guys, the restaurant's open, but nobody's inside. What does that signal? It signals, okay, well, is this even good? Like, nobody's even here. So there's a little bit of a catch-22, right? How do we launch a restaurant with people before we even launch the restaurant, right? Same thing with our online communities. How do we launch the community and make it feel like it's a community without having first launched the community? Well, that's where this strategy comes in, right? Now, I'm going to share that strategy with you in just a sec, but the reward with this is a great restaurant grows because of word of mouth. And the same thing can happen with communities. When you create and facilitate those interactions inside of your space, whether it's free or paid, people talk about it, and you can grow the community from the inside. So here's our workshop plan, okay? We're going to start with the idea and the validation. We're going to go over that really quickly because we do want to make sure that what we are doing is actually something that would be worthwhile. It's a lot of work to put a community together, but super rewarding. But we want to make sure we're going down the right path first. Then setup. We want to set things up correctly. Then phase 1. Phase 2, launch, post-launch, right? That's the journey that you and I are going to go on right now. So let's start with validation and your idea, right? You have an idea, you want to build a community, but you're not exactly sure what it might look like or how it's going to work or even if it would work, right? So let's talk about validation. Levels of validation. Level 1. Do other communities like this exist that house groups of people similar, right? Now, when I share this, a lot of people go, well, there are, which means I can't do this because it's already been done. The truth is your community is going to be different than other communities, is going to be different than other communities, even if you're all targeting the same audience, because you have different experiences. You are a different leader. What you might do inside is different, and the people that make up that community will be different too. So don't think about it like there's competition. There isn't, because there's going to be people who would only want to be in your community and not anybody else's. But knowing that these communities exist is great because you can go, okay, yes, people do want to connect in this space, and that's good. Level 2, has your audience been asking for ways to connect with you? Or have you even shared this or have seen connections happen already. There might be Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, or maybe your audience has been asking, or you can kind of get a sense that they would love to connect with each other. That's going to be level 2. And then level 3, you could experiment with this. I like validation where there's some friction to denote whether or not a person actually wants something, right? So you can create a small event. Maybe it's just a live event on Instagram or a small webinar or something free to see if even people register. Because if people register an RSVP, what does that mean? That means, okay, yes, they do want this. They are voting yes. And of course, with that, they show up and want more, right? That's a great place to start to validate, is doing a mini event or a mini live thing on your channel, or even just kind of joining a challenge. A challenge is a great way to get people fired up and getting a result. So these are all different ways that you can validate an idea for a community before you put in the gears and the mechanisms and the cog to make it happen. All right. So that was validation. Let's go into setup now. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because we want to talk about the launching process. So keep it simple. We've made mistakes in the past. We made a mistake with our pro community. We tried to launch with too many things, too many pieces. And when you're launching, the most important thing is to keep it simple. Strip it down to its most essential parts. You've heard of MVP before, minimum viable product. Well, MVC, what is your minimum viable community, to have something in there that is worth not just going into, but connecting under. Watch out for the curse of bells and whistles. This is a very, very prominent phenomenon. It's a pronomenon that, that involves the idea of us wanting to include so many things in it, right? If you imagine the universal remote that you get from your cable company, if you still use a cable company, many people don't, but you might remember those remote controls. They have literally 100 buttons on them. And how many of them do we use? We use like 5. That's it. Like, that's all you need. And the same thing goes with software. If you ever have been in the software development process or industry, you'll know that feature creep is another name for this. This is very, very common, to want to add it all. You can add these things over time. Think of the MVP first, right? So watch out for the curse of bells and whistles. And a smooth onboarding process is going to be really, really important. That means, can a person who comes into this, whether you set it up on Circle or some other platform, we do recommend circle.so. It's what we use, and I'm an advisor to that company, and they're great. Just had dinner with them a couple weeks ago. They're amazing, and the plans for what's coming, even better. But onboarding means the moment a person comes into your community or says, yes, I want to join, what's it like? How quickly can they feel like they're a part of something or getting an interaction? How quickly can you help them understand where to go? If there's any sort of dead ends in that process, I would highly recommend you go through that process yourself, or in some of the strategies that we're going to talk about, you'll actually see how that lends itself to making sure all the kinks are out before you actually release to a much larger public. All right. And then finally, invest in great software. Again, just raising my hand, circle.so is amazing. Okay, now we're on to phase 1. We're back at the restaurant, right? So what I like to call this phase, and again, we're going back to the restaurant metaphor. I like to call this phase the alpha launch phase. You've probably heard of beta launch before. This is the alpha launch phase. Why alpha? Well, the analogy here in the world of restaurants is it's like the private VIP dinner party, right? The restaurant, it's not even done being constructed, right? We're not opening for a little bit, but I wanted to invite some special people in. We have the back room near the kitchen. It's all decorated. It's nice. Don't look at the other rooms. They're still under construction. But I have a couple menu items that I want to share with you. And I want to invite you privately to this dinner as a thank you and to welcome you as a part of our community, as the literal first members who I want to specially invite, and that is you. And when you have this idea of an alpha lunch or a private dinner for your metaphorical restaurant, aka your community, it makes people who are already in your brand feel really special. It gets them excited about this new project that you're working on. It makes them feel like they are getting a behind the scenes look, or as it's being built, look at what you have going on. And they can't help but get excited and stoked about that. And they can't help but want to participate and be a part of it and help out, right? They might even get the hammers and start, constructing the other rooms because they love this idea so much, right? So let's go over what this might look like specifically. And that's why this works, right? It's like a smaller, a little bit more controlled, and there's a number of things that happen here. Number one, it rewards your most active and motivated users and customers, right? It rewards your most active, motivated users and customers. It makes, especially if you've had a brand for a while and you've been doing a lot of content, but you haven't really been connecting your people together. This is an amazing value add to say, hey, 10, maybe even 5, it could be 20, just a small number, a manageable number of people in the same space in this brand new community of yours that you're creating to go, hey, let me introduce you all to each other because you guys are amazing. And I think we could all, benefit from learning about each other here first. Of course, all while you are building this community from the ground up. You can test your systems, right? This is because it's special invite. It almost gives you permission to make a mistake. And several mistakes, perhaps, right? It's like getting the bugs out before everybody else sees it, right? You can test a number of things, including your menu. So let's do one signature event for the 10 of us, the 20 of us that are here for this alpha launch, right? This would be like your main course meal that you were testing, the one that you're going to hope is going to be a home run when you open the restaurant later. You're going to test that. This is our hot seat moment. This is our, member sharing signature event. This is where we have an expert come in and we have a special guest coming in to present to just you alpha members. And you don't have to call them alpha members, but you can call them whenever you want related to your brand. But this is what it's like. It's a private invite group to get experience and for you to experience what that's like in a small, controlled little petri dish. Next, they understand that it's completely new. They feel special. We talked about that. And a safe opportunity to work out the kinks and get valuable feedback. In fact, it's so beneficial that you could literally ask the individuals one by one, because there aren't that many of them. What did you like about what we just did the other day? What do you feel was maybe a little complicated or confusing to you? Getting that information up front before you go to a beta launch is going to be really key, right? Sarah says, hopefully not literal bugs. If it's a restaurant, that might be a problem. That is very true. In fact, if you have literal bugs in your restaurant before you even open, then there's definitely a problem and you should have had your inspector do a better job. So this is SPI Pro. This is our sort of higher level community for those who are established entrepreneurs. They get access to things like masterminds and strategic planning and all that kind of stuff. When we launched SPI Pro, it was invite only. And it was something that not even the entire audience knew about because it was like receiving the special invite. We didn't have a physical invite, although I think that would be a cool thing if you actually had access to the addresses if you ask and you knew there were a small group of people to do that. A private invite to something like this would be incredible, in fact. But that's how you want it to feel, like a private invite for all the reasons we just shared. Fried Cricket says S-Switch. Actually, that's true. There are people who do eat bugs, and they are very good, apparently, and high in protein. So depends on what bugs and if they're being used in the proper way. Okay, so that was phase 1, the alpha launch. Are we all getting that? Let me see a hand or a yes, or I understand. It's really important to get that because a lot of us being entrepreneurs, we want to get, like we hear that that phrase from Seth Godin, like just ship it, right? Well, we don't want to just ship it, right? We want to maybe go into the harbor first and make sure our sails are working before we go out on that quest, right? And before we don't see land anymore. So let's ship, but like get the ship ready first. This is getting the ship ready. And now we're going to go into phase 2. Phase 2 is the beta launch, AKA, for the restaurant metaphor, the soft launch, right? This is where if you imagine a restaurant that's opening in your hometown or something, it's like going to be open just for this weekend, right? Or just all next week. And it's going to have a number of things about it that favor the launch of that restaurant. And also it starts to build some hype. It gets the community excited about this, especially those who like that kind of food or who like that kind of environment, the one that you're creating for your people, right? So why a beta launch? Let's talk about this. Number 1, it builds buzz. There's a sense of urgency. It's only open this weekend, right? So in your community, when you open it for a beta launch, you might say, the card is open only for 48 hours, or we're welcoming people in this week and we start our first program next week. And after that, it's going to be closed and we're not going to open again for a while. This is the beta group or the founding group. You might call it the founding group, the champion members, however you want to do it. First time members, this is where people start to have that name and association because they want to get in early. They want to be the first to be a part of this. And guess what? It's not a ghost town anymore because you've already had the alpha launch members in there who did expect it to be a ghost town. But for your beta launch, a little bit wider, for the people to come in who are really excited about this, there's still going to be some people who are going to be like, oh, I don't even know what this is yet. I'm not exactly sure how it works, or I'm going to wait till I see what people think about it first. Those are the people who, that's why we're doing a beta launch, because the beta members, the ones who are community members first, are going to be the ones that actually convince those people more than you could, right? This is why we are launching in phases like this, and it makes it easier for you and your team to implement this, right? Let's see. Julie says, I've already launched with none of these steps, and it's been slow going, but I have 3 members that I love in the program. What can I do now that I've already launched in efficiently? Great question, Julie. Let's hold that to the end. If you can kind of copy that and save it for the end, I'd love to answer that because I know there's not just you who might be in that situation. So I have some ideas and I'll share them with you closer to the end. This prepares your staff. So if you have a couple team members or an assistant or something helping you, this prepares them a little bit, right? It gives them maybe the next wave of a number of people before going into sort of more ongoing promotions and campaigns that bring people in at all times. This allows you to refine your logistics. Of course, onboarding is a part of that as well, and just how people come in. You might find that, there's something that breaks in the system because you're loading in more people or people just don't know where to go. Cool. It's okay. You can fix it on the fly at the stage because it's not a whole bunch of people. It's just a good amount of people, right? Sarah says, yes, it was so helpful to seed a few people into my Patreon before it was open so that people coming in saw that there were a few people in there. Yes, exactly. Man, this process makes it so simple and less stressful. Dumasani, thank you. That's why we are doing this. You get more feedback early as well, right? So here's some more tips in addition to boosting revenue, which this will allow you to do as well, right? This is maybe where you first start charging people. You could charge people in the alpha launch as well. It's going to be kind of a gut thing for you to determine whether that's the case, but I would recommend charging at the alpha phase, the beta phase. They are also going to get likely what tends to happen is you can offer like a discount or some sort of early bird pricing or founding members pricing, right? Something that they get locked into because the price will go up for the public after, right? This is, again, another incentive, another piece of urgency to allow them to go, yes, I want to get in now, right? So here's some tips for beta launching. Limited menu, right? Again, simplify, minimum viable community, MVC. What are the 1 or 2 spaces I might need? Or maybe what's the 1 or 2 events that are going to happen this next month during the beta launch or the beta group, the beta class, if you will. What could those things be, right? Let's not overload us and the people coming in. So events are great. Events are a huge part of this equation. And what's really cool is once you get to a tipping point, your community can grow and your community can even create its own events. That's the one cool thing about Circle that I love is that the members of Pro actually create their own events. And anybody who's interested, they can bring people in who are in the community. They see that, they can RSVP to it. We have events going on all the time. Our next big event is the accelerator for the Community Business Blueprint, which happens next week. And that's something that the All Access Pass members get access to. People in the All Access Pass are already RSVPing for that. And again, we have a special deal at the end for you if you want to get in to that now. Open and close launch period. So again, you want this to be open, like, hey, this restaurant's going to be open for the weekend, and then it closes, right? That way, okay, we can not focus on worrying about people coming in, but focus on the people who are in here now. Celebrate your founding members. One thing that we do inside of SPI Pro with our founding members is they have a tag. It literally says founding member. And it's kind of a cool badge. It's kind of a badge of honor. It's something that recognizes them. And people coming in new, this is the benefit for long-term. People coming in new can see that founding member tag and go, wow, you've been in here for a while. And can you help me? Or, wow, must be proven if you've been in here for 2.5 years and you're still sticking around, right? And then finally, you can offer something special, like I said, a bonus or some pricing, etc. Sandy is registered for the Community Accelerator. So Sandy is already in the All Access Pass, which is amazing. Thank you, Sandy. Looking forward to it next week. So a big question that comes up during this process is, should you require an application, right, to do this? Now, we did for SPI Pro. We had an application where we asked just a few different questions because in SPI Pro, we wanted to build a community specifically for those who already had established businesses. So we needed to ask some questions to make sure that was the case, because what you don't want to have happen is say, hey, everybody, this is a community for literally everybody. Everybody come in, and then some people who might be on the more expert end aren't getting value because so many people in the beginning end are asking too many questions, or the people in the beginning are asking too many questions that are so beginner that they're not getting any value because all the conversations are about the higher strategic level kind of things. You shouldn't build a community for everybody. That is a big problem. I think Ali Abdal talked about this not too long ago on YouTube or on X. The idea that if you're building something, you want to build it for a specific group of people. And I would start there, right? Even in your own target audience, which if you've done a good job of, great, you have that target audience. Building a community, even for a subset of that particular audience, can be a great place to start, right? It's not just fitness. It's not just running. It's not just marathon running. It's a community specifically for marathon runners who are 50 years or older, or who are empty nesters now. Now you can imagine those people having similar conversations and connecting with one another, not just because they're runners, but because they're also empty nesters, or because they all have back pain or what have you, and they can help each other out in that way, versus imagine somebody just coming out of college, learning running, communicating with, and it's not impossible, but I'm just saying for the ease of launch, and you can start there, you can add those other things or even create separate communities later that can kind of cross-pollinate amongst each other. So again, I don't want to get too complicated here, but the whole purpose of having an application was to make sure that it was the right fit. Now, for those who got quote unquote denied or rejected, that's such a harsh word, I say more deflected, right? Deflected and rejected combined is deflected. Maybe not. I make these things up on the fly, people. This is the beauty of live. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But what I'm trying to say is we said, okay, you're not ready for this one yet, but here is some information. Here's a place you can go. Here are some resources for you to help you get to this level where in the future, if you apply again, you might be able to get in, right? Cool. Now, again, I love this because it's groups of people going into these things together, and even online courses can be put into a community type situation, which is what we've done, right? We have our online courses, and it's cool because it's not just, again, people learning on their own and trying to figure it out. It's people learning together. And our accelerators are really the big thing that has been the most successful thing. We've been able to increase the likelihood of success in our courses by 2x as a result of doing this. And again, the power of community. I love it. Okay, so that was phase 2. That's the beta launch, right? And then we're going to go to the launch. This is where we now open the restaurant to everybody. And yes, you can open it and then close it again if you want to continue to have that sort of like class, like freshman class, sophomore class, fall class, spring class, summer class, winter class kind of feel. It could be every month. It could be every quarter, whatever you would like. We did that and it worked really well. However, we found over time that there were so many people applying and coming in that we didn't want them to have to wait anymore. So we just decided to keep it open all the time now, and our all access pass is the same way. And that's worked for us too. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It depends on how you want to do it. I will say for smaller teams, it is nice to have an open period and then a closed period. You get the marketing aspect kind of built into that because they have to sign up by a certain date or the price goes up after a certain date, what have you. I can breathe. And 2, once the doors are closed, it's like, okay, now let's put the dam back up, and now the water's building again. It's just like getting ready for the next flood of people coming in. All whilst you have, because you're building a wait list, hopefully, all whilst you are helping people who are in there have the best experience possible, right? Great question, Andrew. I will love to answer that at the end for you as well, because we're going to keep going here. Now, when you are open, the best thing you can do is tell stories of people who are succeeding in there, people who are connecting. It doesn't have to be a huge win even. It's this idea of making your audience the hero of the story. They finally found their people. Any sort of testimonial, good feedback, wins that people have gathered in your community, gather those. Collect those. That was something that we also struggled with, or just wasn't even cognizant of doing up front, which was let's pull every win out of this, because that is what's going to sell this thing more than anything. I could talk about how much you could succeed with the community business blueprint and the all access pass and going through our accelerators, right? I could talk about that all day. I can give you data about the numbers and how much more likely people are to succeed and how many things people have launched as a result of going through these courses of ours together. But it's when I show you other people who have done that and tell stories of people who have done that, you'll see some of them a little bit later, that's what sells it. So as you have just launched your community, or while you are launching it, tell stories of those beta users and those alpha users. And the story could simply be, here's Johnny and here's Eric. Guess what? They're on a podcast episode together after having found each other inside of the community. Here is Jane, who was able to get help from Sally because Jane was going through the process that Sally had just done herself. And that's all people need to see, oh, okay, there's connection and belonging happening here. There's a safe space where me as we're all weirdos, right? The idea of putting these weirdos all in one spot to not feel like a weirdo anymore, like I found my people. Hopefully you're not offended that you're a weirdo, because I'm a big weirdo for sure. But it's where weirdos get together that weirdos stay together. That didn't rhyme as well as I thought it was going to. Okay. Tell the story of your people, right? Especially the stories that have some sort of challenge or battle or metaphorical dragon to slay. And when you do that, people on the outside, especially if you have a podcast and you're sharing these stories, especially if you're on social and you're sharing these stories, especially if you have a YouTube channel and you're sharing these stories, people love to see the struggle, but then the release out of that struggle. That is such a satisfying thing, and it happens all the time in these communities. This is, of course, just coming straight out of Donald Miller and Building a Story Brand. An amazing book, highly recommend. Donald's been on the show before. He's been incredible. And so we have taken that and we've tried as best as possible to lean into this. Again, not making you the hero of the story, you the creator, you the leader, but making your students, your members, the hero of the story. For example, Brenda, Outdoor School Photography, or Outdoor Photography School, excuse me. She is an incredible member of ours inside of SPI Pro. She's gone through a number of our courses and accelerators, and as a result, has generated more revenue from some online courses that she's created, right? Especially her landscaping course, which was really amazing. And so we featured her story. She was on the podcast before, right? Session 533. Now, telling her story, what does that do? It allows people an open window of the types of people that are inside the community. And that's really cool. And that's such a fun way to market. It's a fun way to market. I hate having to feel like I have to sell, right? Stories sell. Spotlighting your members and students sell. That way, I don't have to worry so much about the next ad I gotta write or the copywriting on that social post that's gonna convert people. Yes, we do worry about that, but I can have fun doing it because I'm telling story, right? Here's Maria, another one of our founding members, in fact, who has a business and now a book as well, and a podcast about plants. And I love her business, and she has been featured on the podcast a couple times. We actually did a challenge in October of 2021, I think it was, and she won that challenge, a 60-second pitch challenge inside the community. Challenges is another great signature event that you can have inside your community. You can listen to that episode in episode 583. And so word of mouth really starts to take hold once you get some people in there talking to each other. So that's your goal once you launch. Make those connections. One thing that has helped us inside of our communities is literally tagging people and saying, hey, you should meet this person, right? That happens in real life. Like if I was a shy person who went to a party, which I usually am because I'm an introvert, but I went with a friend, I love when that friend goes, hey, you should meet so-and-so, because it allows me to find my people, like somebody's helping me do that, right? So especially if you have a smaller group, whether it's an alpha, beta, or just like an ongoing launch situation, make those connections for people. Train your team to say, hey, if you see two people who kind of should know each other, like introduce them to each other, right? Recently, Circle has introduced group DMs, which is really amazing for that, but you can do that publicly as well, because then you can get other people on those you can get other people in on those conversations as well. And remember, it's about the experience. This is the differentiator between content and community. It is the experience that people have inside of that space. You, as the leader and authority and the creator, are creating that space for those experiences to happen. The beauty is you don't have to make those experiences 100% of the time. You facilitate events. You create conversations. Like I said, you make connections, because it is the experience that one person has with another that is going to differentiate it from the content, but it's also going to keep people in. It's going to help you get more recurring revenue. It's going to help you grow the community from the inside, and it helps us battle this. How many, let me see a show of hands, or let me know in the chat if you feel like this is the world we're living in right now, where we are just getting stuffed with content like crazy, right? I mean, we're full, we're bloated from it, right? Now think about the difference of this. This is what it's like. And look at the next picture, and I want you to tell me, or at least just think about the difference here. This is what it's like now. It's not the fanciest gazebo. It's not the fanciest cups. It's still paper plates. Guess what? Nobody cares. Why? Because it's the people. We can create our own metaphorical gazebo. It doesn't even have to be a restaurant. It could just literally be a gazebo in a park, which already exists, aka circle.so. Get that software, you set up shop, and you just put the chairs up, and you just let people do that, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times, because I'm a big people pleaser. Like, it's a superpower and a fault. And when my wife and I would create parties, right, for our kids, baptism party and gatherings and birthday parties and stuff, we would always stress out so much about making sure people had a good time. And, hey, are there enough activities, or, for the kids of our friends to do, like all these kinds of things? And, are there enough, whatever. And of course, we're Filipino, or I'm half Filipino. My wife is full Filipino. So we're like, do we have enough lumpia? Do we have enough pancit? We need more food. Always way too much food, right? But no matter what, because we just invited family and friends together, and even neighbors, connections happened without even trying. That's the cool part about doing this online. And that's why community is so important. Yes, a virtual gazebo, a gazebo. I need to stop. But yes, they are enjoying each other's company, right? And online, they might pay to get access to that too. In fact, they will if they find the right people. So I want to ask you in the chat today, what was the most valuable thing you learned today? Like I said, there's going to be some time for questions and answers, but I'm also going to share with you a little bit about our online course, because next week we have our community business blueprint to walk you through this process to 2x the likelihood of your success with this versus doing this on your own. We have our accelerator, right? An offering inside of our community where you can go through our content, not alone, but with other people, and a guide, specific office hours. You're just watching 1 or 2 modules a week for X number of weeks, and that starts next week. A gazebo, yes. Some people speaking Tagalog in the audience as well. Love it. So what was the most valuable thing you've learned today? Switch says, Sylvia says, featuring my community members on the podcast. Never thought of that. So cool, right? And when you think about that, you're like, oh, that makes complete sense. But oftentimes we want to bring like the A-listers on, the experts on, which is important to do, right? However, it is important for your audience to also see somebody like them there too. Somebody like them who had the same struggles, who had the same issues, who had the same challenges, who figured out how to get through that and is seeing some value somewhere. And then guess what everybody else does? Hey, that person's just like me. And look, I want to be there. I want to talk to those people. I want to have the same experiences. I want to get the same results. So powerful, Sylvia. Thank you for that. How to set up the soft launch and get the Donald Miller book. Too much to write. I had to start taking screenshots to keep up. Gina, you're welcome to do that, and you can go back to the replay after as soon as this is done. Lindsay says, love the learning specific launch phases and who to invite. What about people just starting out, have the idea but need to build the community? Like I said, start alpha, start small. The community could even be on a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group just to begin with, a private space. It could be a WhatsApp group, a text message group if you feel safe offering your number, which I wouldn't, but that can work. My challenge is starting my podcast. Love the launch phases. The minimum viable community is great. Building the alpha community was a great idea. Tots. My podcast is about interviewing the normal humans. Will this be the same 5-day as last month? No, this is just a 1-day webinar. So this is it. The blueprint is going to be inside of our All Access Pass, which is a paid program, but you get access to all of our courses as well as our community and the accelerator starting next week. So that's called the Community Business Blueprint. And what's really unique about this course versus others is there's actually a slew and a group of instructors in this particular course. Myself and Jillian, who's in the chat right now, our community director. She's wonderful. Emma, who is actually the community education manager at Circle. She's got a couple modules in the course too. And then Matt, our co-founder, who's like a financial wizard. He's going to teach you about pricing and strategy and long-term, how your community injects itself into your business and how you can make it work. Again, the All Access Pass, this was a brilliant idea from Ashley, who I believe is in the chat as well. Ashley Gore, you see her there. We hired her because she has curriculum experience, and she was able to shape our courses and our community in a way that has been so helpful for everybody going through. It's been the number one thing we've done, and I got to give credit to where credit is due. So Ashley, you are amazing. So with the All Access Pass, you get access to all of our online courses and workshops. There's more than a dozen. You can see a number of them there, from our webinar course to our podcasting courses. Yes, the Community Business Blueprint, but also our online course, our email marketing course. So all of the things that you might need to succeed if you are somebody looking to develop a brand and a business online that is here for the long term. You get access to an active community of people just like you, and access to Team SPI, who's there to help you and guide you. If you ever get lost, we're doing it wrong. You should be able to find your way through, because you're not here to take all the courses at once. You're here to take the right ones that make sense for you at the right time. Speaking of, you get access to pathways through these various courses so you don't get overwhelmed. And our accelerators, again, our big shining spotlight here is our accelerators. Our next accelerator is next week for the Community Business Blueprint course, one of the courses that you get access to, but we're going to run you through it. Now, these courses individually, when we sold them by themselves, were hundreds of dollars, right? And so put them all together, I mean, what would you expect this price to be if you were to just do the math? It would be thousands of dollars in just the courses alone, without even the community or the help or the accelerators or anything like that. So we wanted to lower the barrier to entry here, because we want people to stick around for the long term, and that is up to us to make it happen based on your success, right? We shouldn't assume that you will be successful with this. We should help you make sure that happens, and that's what we can do with these accelerators. And like I said, the next one is next week. So we want you to get in soon, but I'm just going to show you the price that this is actually equates to just about $66 a month, which is absolutely wild, right? Hundreds of dollars before to start. Now just $66 a month is what it equates to. Now we do bill either quarterly or annually. And just to show you over here, this is where you go. If you go to smartpassiveincome.com/CBB for Community Business Blueprint, this takes you to our website, which has our community, and it shows you a little bit more. Actually, if you go to smartpassiveincome.com/CBB, I was just showing off the new website there. This is our Community Business Blueprint, smartpassiveincome.com/CBB. And you'll see there's like 6 days left to join before the accelerator starts. You'll get more information there. You can save a little bit of money if you go the annual cost. So here's where you want to go, the All Access Pass. Here on the left-hand side, you can click this button up here to save 16% on annual billing. So beautiful job on the website, everybody on the team, but this is where you want to go. You can hit here to join now, and that's how you get access to the Community Business Blueprint. Now, to keep going here, again, get access before February 7th, before the accelerator starts. If you're already in the accelerator, I see some of you in the chat, be sure to just sign up. You have access to this and every other accelerator that you want to join. And this is where you go. For everyone who desires to have a successful community in their business, sign up now to get into the Community Business Blueprint Accelerator, which kicks off February 8th. So that's the kickoff call. The actual content starts the week after. We have a number of team members that are there who are going to help you. And smartpassiveincome.com/CBB is where you would want to go. A couple amazing communities that I just want to feature. Backyard Ecology community and the Hello Passionistas community. These are women in our audience who have built these incredible communities. We have Christopher here who just needed to thank us. I want to thank Christopher as well for this inside of the All Access Pass. He said, just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the creators of the community of Business Blueprint and the entire SPI team for this All Access Pass. You can see there down at the bottom. Now I am loaded and ready to serve my audience in a different way. Thank you for answering all the questions I had and all of the questions I didn't know to ask. And again, that's the benefit of doing the course with people through the accelerator, which starts next week here. We want you to get in now. So if you go to smartpassiveincome.com/CBB, you can get ready for next week and the kickoff call just to kind of get yourself in motion. This is a perfect time to do this because community is where things are headed. And in my opinion, if you're not thinking about building a community, you will be left behind in your brand. Content is important, yes, but you got to get a way to figure out how to get your people together, and this is the way to do it. This sounds better than Fizzle, and Fizzle was great. Fizzle was great. Shout out to Corbett and the team over there, Chase. We have focused all of our energy on how we can help you better succeed, and it requires us to be there with you during that process, right? You can, on your own, take any of the courses that you now have available inside of the All Access Pass at any moment in time. In fact, a lot of people ask us for questions, and we go, oh, that's actually Module 3 of the podcasting course. Just watch that. Right? You don't even have to watch the whole thing. You now have access to this library, but not by yourself. You're not alone in this library. You're with people, and you're good to go. So I'm happy to take questions now. We are at the top of the hour. But again, this is the link that you want to go to right now. There should be sound. Julie, feel free to paste your question that you had asked before. We can go from there. There you go. Thank you. Question, I already launched with none of these steps, and it's been slow going, but I have 3 members that love the program. What can I do now that I've already launched inefficiently? Kayla, thank you so much for that. So there's a few things you can do. If you imagine those 3 people like your alpha launch, right? Those 3 people, maybe you didn't privately invite them, but they're there. They are getting a behind the scenes, they're getting special access because there's not very many people. So this is beautiful because you can have deeper, more meaningful, and more often conversations, more frequent conversations with them, which is great. If you imagine that they're the alpha, you can actually utilize them and have them feel like they're a part of the process of building this out into something and getting a result. That's what I would do. Think about this like they're alpha members and consider what might be the best result to get for them next. And then what happens is you do that, you document it, and that becomes what you lead with when it comes to your next phase, your beta launch, where it's going to be open for one period of time. It's not a ghost town anymore. You've already had not just people go through it, but people get results from it. So I'd focus on leaning into the relationships with those 3 people you have and then getting them a result, using that to become your marketing opportunity for a beta group and getting more people in there, getting your 3 members to share a little story or to be featured in some piece of content to do that. Right? We have reached peak content. Thanks, Philip. I think that's a compliment. Thank you. Let's see. Stacia says, I'm already through the alpha launch and getting ready for the beta launch at the end of February. Amazing. What's one thing you're going to do to knock it out of the park, Stacia? Let's see. Stacia says, quick, maybe dumb question. Does the All Access Pass include everything in the blueprint? Yes, it includes everything. And Kayla, actually, one of our members, said that. So thank you for that. It includes access to this accelerator coming up, all the courses and the workshops that are there, the live events that happen in the All Access Pass, but the next accelerators. And the next accelerators are going to be based on the community vote. That's where this one came from. The community voted that they wanted the Community Business Blueprint Accelerator to go through that course in a more modular and iterative fashion. However, with access to people and office hours about that along the way so that you'll, again, have a 2x more chance than what you do if you do this alone. That's our data. I'm not just making that up. Our data shows that when people go through these courses together with other people inside of our environment, inside of our accelerators, they're more likely to succeed, and that's why we're here. So no, not a dumb question at all. Let's see. Kristen says, I'm still working through Power Up Podcasting, but want to build a community around that. Should I wait to sign up for this accelerator? Launch first? Will this accelerator come around again? The accelerator may or may not come around again. This one in particular, I mean, this one is going to be, I think, the second time we've done this accelerator. So it has come back already, and it's likely to come back again because community is very, very popular and what people are asking for. So it's likely to come back, but I can't promise that. But you can go through the course on your own if you'd like. But if you're somebody that you need some you need some accountability, there's two things you can do. Number one, yes, you could go through this if you know what your directions are for the podcasting stuff. What I don't want you to do is to drop your work in the middle of one to just go into another, right? Finish your incompletes and then go on to the next thing, right? And again, this will be here. Now, there will likely be other people who would want to go through that with you. You can actually connect. This is the beauty of the community. We can even help you find other people to go through. And I think, Ashley, didn't we have some people do this with our podcasting one? Or maybe it was our YouTube accelerator where, they didn't go through with the actual accelerator group, but they kind of created their own mini accelerator. There was like a group of people who just decided to get together and kind of create their own curriculum, actually just to go through the accelerator kind of on their own later, like after the fact, which was pretty cool. So I think that is something that happened. It was YouTube, yeah. So that's cool. We have a dedicated space for finding people to go through the courses with if you don't or can't go through the accelerator together. Jonathan says, building an affordable housing community and would like to build a community of people interested in living in or following the process. Recommendations for finding people in my area. So a great place to start, Jonathan, with things like that are what existing communities exist, right? I think that there could be some amazing opportunities for you, not just to go on like the usual ones like LinkedIn and whatnot, but there could be some amazing meetup.com communities in your local area that can come together to kind of maybe even talk about these kinds of things. What's the other one that is like the neighborhood app that we all have? Nextdoor. Nextdoor could be a good one. And I've seen a few people gracefully go into communities inside of Nextdoor and actually gather some good leads in there. Now, there are people doing it in kind of more spammy way. So I definitely want to make sure that you do it with grace and with service first. But that is an opportunity for you to go and find people. And then instead of just like blasting out, hey, is anybody here interested in affordable housing or, that kind of thing, start a conversation about it that gets people who are interested to reply and communicate. You're not asking them about any course or community or anything like that. You're maybe bringing up a topic that would be either passionate or even controversial in a way to spur up conversation. And you can kind of get a sense of who replies and who might be interested in this. You can DM them, reach out to them individually, connect with them outside that platform to then go, hey, you know what? I want to have more conversations like this. How would you like to be a part of this group? Right? That would be a great way to do something like that. Agansanzar Jr., I totally butchered. Agsazens Jr. Would you have a recommendation for what would be offered to the restaurant to help draw in the initial crowd? So this is really, really great. So this is going to be what's on your menu, number one. Number two, it could be, I'll expand on that, but number two, it might be just the type of restaurant, right? If you see that there's a community and you've done the research and you see, oh, there isn't an Indian restaurant here. Let's ask around. Let's actually see if this is something people, would you want Indian food? Would you go to an Indian restaurant that's around here? Okay, cool. The fact that it is an Indian restaurant in a location that has no Indian restaurants could be something that draws them in, right? That's what draws us into different restaurants that open in our neighborhood. If there were an Ethiopian restaurant that opened, fairly near us, I would go there just because it was an Ethiopian restaurant. And that's some of my favorite food, right? I have to travel 20 miles near the border to go to a place to find them, and I don't feel safe in that area. So anyway, thank you, Isaac. That means a lot. I recently joined SPI Pro All Access, and it's definitely worth it. Thank you for that. Does SPI live on Kajabi? No, we live on Circle. 100% the best thing on the planet right now. Thank you so much for that. So to expand on that, the menu. What are the one or two things on the menu that if you were to share, people are going to go, oh man, I want to come in. I want that right now. I need that chicken tikka masala because it just looks so good, right? You take a nice picture of it. Now, in the online course space, or it could be access to a mini course or something like an online course, it could be access to an upcoming event with a special guest being maybe somebody that you've interviewed on your podcast or have a friendship with or is a big person in the space. That's on the menu. I want to go and enjoy that meal. Rail says, I'm a newcomer to podcasting, and I have my name of my podcast series. It's called The Jam On It Show. The Jam On It Show. Not for bread, though. My question to you is this. What can I do to make my podcast to bring in new listeners? Well, probably the most valuable thing you could do I will give you some tips. But we do, if you are a part of the All Access Pass, have 2 podcasting courses, a 101 and a 201, Power Up Podcasting and Amped Up Podcasting. There's literally lessons in there to go and grow your show, right? Now, the number one thing that I'm going to start with is be a guest on another person's show. When I say that, a lot of people who are beginners say, well, I don't have, like, my show is not valuable. So why would a person have me on their show? Well, you're thinking about it from a very you perspective, right? Think about it from what are the kinds of things, despite, like, imagine you had 0 podcast. What value could you offer to another podcaster and their audience, right? Having a podcast with few listeners does not disqualify you to becoming an incredibly valuable person on another person's show. So I would fight to have you figure out what that might be, and then go and pitch yourself on those other shows, build a relationship with those other people, try to become a guest on their podcast, because not only are people listening to you and being able to easily go and listen to then your show from there, but they also get the endorsement from the person that they've heard from before, the host, to your podcast and your show and just you as a person, right? So maybe this starts with you inviting somebody whose show you want to be on your show first, or doing a share for share, right? A collaboration, if you will. Thank you, Canvas Monsters. I appreciate that. Knocking it out of the park. Socializing social media content. Throw a massive launch party, which is this being socialized, career building, life recovery, wellness coach. Nice, Stacia. That's awesome. Who has a question about affordable housing? I have 20 years multifamily experience and happy to chat. I think that was... Let's see, Jonathan up there, Jonathan Redmond. So you guys can connect together, or if you're inside of All Access, you can find each other from there. Rosie's says, I'll do a couple more questions here. Rosie says, I just launched my podcast today and I've been wanting to build a community. How long should I wait to start the community after building my launch, or after my launch? P.S. Thanks for the amped up podcasting. You're welcome. You could start now, right? Because a community doesn't require hundreds of people or even dozens. It could be 5 people. So I would at least, like, maybe this doesn't mean you start a circle community right now, but my recommendation, Rosie's brain, would be to see if you can get 10 people who listen to your show all in one spot, or even 5, just to begin to get connected with them, because that's going to help you in so many ways, not just for the future and building out a community from there, but also just who are my listeners, and what do they like about the show? What do they want more of? What isn't on the show yet that they want? What didn't they like as much? You can utilize just those 5 people, and that is a community too. Can you please explain the benefits of SPI Pro? Yeah, so SPI Pro, which is our kind of higher level community for established entrepreneurs, right, also gives you access to the All Access Pass. It comes with. But in addition to that, you get mastermind placing. So we will connect you with other people to have a formalized mastermind. It's really awesome because the names of these masterminds are fruits and veggies. And sometimes we get people here in the chat who are like, Team Orange, Team Celery, right? And it's like your group of people that you hang out with and that you connect with every week and or every other week. Or, you know, we train our leaders of those masterminds to help out too, which are pro members. You get access to our EIR, or our experts in residence. These are people who we've recruited to become our coaches and leaders inside of the space, who are known for and are experts on different kinds of things. And we're going to be expanding on that program this year as well. We have a number of people, 4 currently, including Jason and Terry and myself and Matt, who are the first 4 EIRs. We have some amazing women coming in the next round. It's going to be awesome. So you get access to them and these incredible higher level conversations, and some strategic planning, some cash flow related courses, things that are for higher level business owners for sure. Leadership Work says, we have 650 members in Circle here in Hawaii. They don't quit, but are mostly passive. This is normal in the islands where people don't speak up because everyone is so connected. Thoughts on more engagement? Yeah, I mean, Hawaii is all about family, right? My daughter dances hula, and every week when we go to practice, it's like we're a family, we're a community, right? And we celebrate together, we cry together, and we're just, our daughters are dancing the same thing. So I agree with you on Hawaii and community. The trick would be, how do we do that online, right? So I'm not even going to speak to necessarily Hawaiian culture, but I know that it is important for many cultures to highlight and celebrate each other. I know in the Filipino culture, for example, I mean, it's so clear whenever anybody is doing anything that's famous and they're Filipino, it's like the entire country gets behind it, right? We watch a movie or something, and you'll know who the Filipino in a room because they'll point them out and be like, that guy's Filipino. That guy's Filipino, because we just are so proud of our people when they're doing cool things. And so, like Manny Pacquiao, like the whole world shuts down, or the whole country at least shuts down to watch him, or used to watch when they used to watch him fight. So anyway, like, how could you bring that feeling into your circle community? Maybe we have a ritual of highlighting a community member and telling their story. And maybe we go deeper with that. We get some pictures to go along with it to make sure that everybody else kind of sees that there's a real person, a real human who went through a struggle or a challenge and came out on the other end much better as a result, right? Maybe that becomes a weekly or monthly ritual, and you even have, again, you can do whatever you want in your community. Maybe you have a physical trophy, right? Or something that gets sent to them, or whatever, right? Maybe they get featured on a live stream or something, right? Now, the idea of a passive member, we want our members to be as active as possible. I mean, of course, the more active your members are, the more they're going to stick around, and the better it is for everybody, right? So we've been trying to do what we can to start conversations, to lead by example in those conversations. So that could be a thing for us, not just waiting for people, but actually starting the conversation and having your own team members be first to reply and share video or respond to those things, because then that like starts the train of people who want to do it too. Oftentimes, people in your community don't want to be first. Right? They don't want to be first. Speaking of first, this will be the first time that we mention the accelerator. You might see a few more emails about this, because the date to get into this is by the 7th, because we kick off on the 8th. So don't wait now. Get in smartpassiveincome.com/CBB, and hopefully I will see you be there. I'm sorry, it just comes out sometimes. I appreciate you for all the questions today. I have to head out and prepare for office hours, which anybody in the All Access Pass also get access to. I go live once a week for an hour, sometimes over an hour, to answer questions just directly, not just about online courses or community, but anything. And that's one of the many benefits that you can get coming in here. So smartpassiveincome.com/CBB. Hopefully we will see you there. We've seen some people sign up already from this, which is great. And I look forward to, Randy says, join SPI Pro. You will not be disappointed. Amazing community and a great place to learn as you grow. I've known Pat for more than a decade. He's the real deal. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right, everybody. Thank you. Take care. I appreciate you. Ashley's answering some questions in the chat as well. After I finish up, there'll be a little bit more time to converse in there if you still have questions for the team. But amazing work today. Great energy. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you go to where the puck is going and start building your community, because it's going to be really important. And it's one of the most fun things. It's honestly been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in the world of teaching entrepreneurship since 2008. I'm 15 years into this, people, and this is the most fun I've ever had. So shout out to the crew, shout out to you, and I look forward to seeing you here. smartpassiveincome.com/CBB. See you later. Bye.